Hi, this is Dr. Loreen Richards Usher, continuing with the fifth session of the 52 learning sessions on visionary parenting. Our theme for the month of February is Parents Leading by Example. And the topic for this session is growth mindset and lifelong learning, with the objective to instill a growth mindset in yourself as a parent and model it for your children. We have three topics embedded in this session. And the topic number one is the importance of being a lifelong learner, overcoming perfectionism, and teaching children the value of effort over status. What is a lifelong learner? A lifelong learner is someone who uses both formal and informal learning opportunities to foster continuous development and improvement of knowledge and skills needed for employment and personal fulfillment. When we look at these definitions here, we find two important words: formal and informal. The word formal, it is actually telling us or referring to as a educational setting, either a high school or university setting where you have to be accountable for grades or achievement. And the informal word in this definition, actually it is referring to a self-paced learning or sitting in a workshop or positioning yourself in a space where you can actually improve your skills in a certain discipline. And is this will help you in a special way to actually improve yourself in whatever skills you're planning to improve yourself on. How to become a lifelong learner. It's about turning the act of learning in a classroom into a daily mindset and habit for personal development. When I go through this slide here, I can remember myself when we were on the mission field. We worked on the mission field with my husband for a couple of years in different countries. And I remember we were in settings of communities and villages where there was not much to get done as we work with the people. And I actually position myself and tell myself that when I go to these communities, there must be something that I can learn there. I can remember one of the village in one of the countries where we lived. I was looking for something that I can learn to strengthen some of the skills that I already had. And I found this particular lady who was the only seamstress in this community. It caught my attention because I had a little knowledge of what sewing was all about. My mother was actually a seamstress. She did not have the time to actually teach us how to sew, but we had an idea seeing her sewing a lot of dresses for the people in the community where we lived. And so I went to this lady and I interact with her, ask her if she could actually teach me how to sew. She was actually excited to do that, and I proceeded with the lessons. And to cut this story short, I was able to learn and I actually perfected my skills on sewing. And when I moved over to another village, to my surprise, I was able to actually set up my business on being a seamstress and sewing dresses for children, for grown-ups, including wedding dresses and also men garment. And so this is why this picture caught my attention so much, because it's something that I was actually practicing on a daily basis, that it become part of my mindset, and also actually could say a classroom where I was in on a daily basis. So what is a lifelong learner? A lifelong learner is someone who uses both formal and informal learning, which we did this already, but I just want to go over it for you to understand exactly the concept of getting involved to be a lifelong learner. A lifelong learner is someone who uses both formal and informal learning opportunities to foster continuous development and improvement of knowledge and skills needed for employment and personal fulfillment. This is so important. So, we are going to go into 5 ways to develop a lifelong learning mindset. Ways number 1, recognize that you always have the traits of a lifelong learner. And parents, just be informed that each one of us as individual, we are already born with traits of learning. And so it is important for us to actually force ourselves or intentionally try to position ourselves to continue to learn. We'll be so surprised when we position ourselves in such spaces that we're continuing to learning. And remember that you are a role model for your child or your children. When your children see that you are happy learning and you are so enthusiastic learning what you're learning, they're going to grow to emulate you, and not emulate you, but become in love with learning. And once your children become in love with learning, you're not going to have that type of problem with them in school, because they're going to come to school ready, position in themselves, ready to learn, including to even teach you what they're learning in school. It's important for you parents to embrace a growth mindset. When you embrace this growth mindset, you become very knowledgeable. You become emotionally intelligent for you to be a good problem solver. Every opportunity that presents itself, you try to get into it so you can learn something. As a matter of fact, I want to encourage you that on a yearly basis, set your goals. What are you going to learn this year? And not just positioning yourself. Reading, number 3, reading plays a very important role in learning as well, because we have books out there that we can learn from about your body. We have books that we can learn about everything that there is. And once our children see that we have the love for books and reading, That's the same thing that they're going to come up to do. Set your environment in the home with reading activities. When it's time to read, everybody sit down and focus on reading and engage in conversations as to what you're learning. I can remember here also growing up, my parents, my especially my dad, he only had a third grade um, school, elementary school education. And but one of the things that amazed us as the seven children that he had is that he actually created a library in the house. I can remember that corner where he had that little library. And that library had 10 encyclopedias. I can remember the color of the encyclopedias. They were red. And any one of you are familiar with encyclopedias, which we don't use much now because everything we have online. Those were actually thick books, and we had to read them. Actually, read them and have conversation with him, telling him exactly what was in those encyclopedias. This is where we actually love and develop the habit of learning. Number four, know that physical health is mental health. And so, parents, I want to encourage you to make sure that you stay healthy. Take care of yourself. Teach your children to go to bed on time. And not only your children, you also practice that practice for them to see you actually getting it done. Exercising, taking the sun, fresh air. Once you keep your body healthy, your mental health is going to be intact as well. And number five, declutter your mind to make room for the new you. Declutter means throw away those types of social media that brings informations that are empty. There's no learning taking place in those informations. These type of of things that we get ourselves involved in social media. You do that, your children are going to be doing the same thing, sitting down hours and hours looking at informations that has no value for your future life or your present life. And then remember that you are actually modeling this to your children to sit and watch social media that does not have any value message in it for your children to learn something constructive. Declutter all of those things. Throw them away. They're garbage. And this is going to make room in your mind for the new you who is going to be embarked on a lifelong journey learning. Let's go to point number two, the topic number two, overcoming perfectionism. Overcoming perfectionism as a parent is crucial for fostering a healthy and balanced home environment. I often see parents who try to paint a perfect picture to the environment and the world that they are surrounding, to the friends who they surround. They paint a perfect picture that everything is all is well with them as a family and also with their children. I can remember a couple of years back, I had an experience with two parents. Well, they are family. both mother and father. Their child was always acting up in school, outbursts, curse words, not good behavior. And so I decided to bring them in and sit with them to have a conversation, probably to give them some strategic ways of helping their child. And the mother started, crying, and she was, my child. I don't know. I think the child picked up all of that at school because at home my child don't see these type of behavior, and everything was just so perfect. So I sat there, I was just listening carefully, and when she was finished, I actually gave her some tips as to what she can do to help her child. And so we prayed and they left. After the parent left, the child asked permission to come into my office to speak with me. And when the child came in, the first thing the child said, Dr. Usher, my parents are a fake. Everything that they told you here, none of it was true. I did not follow up with the conversation. I just encouraged the child and I guide the child actually as to how she also can help our parents by embarking on a better behavioral pattern. And so parents can develop strategic ways to shift from perfectionism to a more realistic and compassionate approach. And so let's look at some strategies here to help parents shift from perfectionism. All right. Number one, recognize the signs of perfectionism. This is so important. How are you going to recognize these signs? I can give you an example. Feeling like you're never doing enough as a parent. A lot of parents feel this way, that I am not doing enough as a parent. And so they keep trying and keep trying over the years to try to get things more perfect and more perfect. And the more perfect they try to get it, is the less perfect it is going to happen. Because sometimes, and a lot of times, I've seen parents set unrealistic standards for themselves as a parent and also for their children that they will never, ever reach. All right. So these are signs of perfectionism. We are looking at strategies to help parents shift from perfectionism. Number two, redefine success in parenting. So, how can you redefine success in parenting? Shift the focus from perfect outcomes to consistent effort and connection. Effort and connection. This is what your children are looking for. They're looking for love, they're looking for support, and they're looking for guidance. So shift the success to that in your parenting. Love your children. Loving them does not mean that you are going to be their best friend. Loving them means that you are establishing a connection with them and also establishing trust for them to trust you. All right. There's a difference between being your friend and trust. They're looking for that love and support, guidance. They're looking for guidance. They don't know it all, but they know that you know it all because you lived long enough. Number three, embrace imperfection as a learning opportunity. Model resilience to your children. by showing your child that mistakes are part of life. Don't act as if you do not make a mistake. Be transparent with them. That's what make them resilient because you learn from your mistake. Number 4, prioritize connection over control. Instead of aiming for the perfect routine or perfectly behaved child, focus on building a trusting relationship. We mentioned this earlier, that your children don't want you to be their best friends. They can become your best friend at an old age. Right now, you're setting the foundations. So, what your child need from you is to build a trusting relationship. Let go of comparison. We love perfectionist parents, love to compare their children to other family children. You see how so and so child is behaving. You see how such and such child behaving, and always comparing their children to other children. Not only that, they use the social media to create unrealistic parenting standards. And that's a no, no, no. If you're going to go down that route, you're not going to be a successful parent with that. Seek support. And this is what we are doing, parents. This is why we create this learning sessions to establish a support group within parents. And that is why we're encouraging you. And every Thursdays, just come and sit. We're not lecturing or anything on Thursday evening. We're just there to answer your questions and for you to get to know other parents so you can establish a friendship with them and support each other. It takes a village to raise one child. Focus on the present moment. Enjoy the small, imperfect moments. They make up the best memory. Some strategies to help parents to shift from being that perfect parent or demonstrating perfectionism. Teaching children the value of effort over result. And this is our next um, item that we want to touch here. In a world that often rewards outcomes, grades, trophies, and achievements, is essential to teach children that effort, perseverance, and a growth mindset are more valuable than just the end results. This is so important, parents. It is so important for us to value effort over results. If we value the efforts, what is going to happen here? Simply, the child is going to every time work harder and harder to obtain that result that they're satisfied with. So if we reinforce effort, for example, is telling us here, praise effort, not just achievement. So instead of saying you are so smart, we can say, I love how hard you worked on that assignment. Because when a child work on a very hard on a given assignment that is given to that child, most likely the achievement or the product is going to be something likable. It's going to be the best. It's going to be an A because effort was placed on that assignment. And so, if as parents, we actually praise the effort that the child did or the work that was put in, the child is going to always be empowered to put more and more and more effort because the child wants to become successful and love the outcome, love the achievement. All right? Normalize struggle and failure. Teach kids that mistakes are part of learning. So, it's always good, not intentionally, to make a mistake. Because when we teach our children to intentionally make mistake, that is not a mistake. That's intentionally. That means you plan to make that mistake. But as life goes on, sometimes we are going to actually end up making mistake, not intentionally, but it do happens. But when that happened, we can teach our children that we learn from our mistakes. And we have to teach them to problem solve. Teach them to problem solve. I many a times at school, the kids with their friends, they're up and down with their friends and they're playing and probably the play result didn't work out. They get mad with the other friends. They run coming to the principal to help them solve the situation because they're mad with their friends. A lot of times I would say to them, when you're playing with your friend and when you were nice and everything was going okay, you did not invite Dr. Usher to be part of your play. But now it is not working out for you. You're inviting me to solve your problem. You know what? This is what I tell them. You are going to solve your problem by yourself. And when you solve it, come and tell me how you did it so I can learn how to solve a given problem. A lot of them would like look at me like mad because they're looking and seeking my help. But to my surprise, they will go and you know what they will do to move out of that situation that fast? They will hug each other and say, you know what, I forgive you. And they come back running. Dr. Shai solved my problem. What did you do? I just tell them that I forgave them. I said, great. That's a good thing to do. You solve your problem by yourself. All right. Celebrate effort over outcomes. And that is when your children bring their tests, don't ask them about the grade. Ask them, how did you prepare yourself to receive that grade? And then they're going to have the opportunity to say to you, you know what? I studied, I took notes, I prepared myself, I prayed, and all of this they're going to be telling you. And then you will have the opportunity to establish a conversation and guide them into it as to how they can continue with that effort that they put into that particular test to continue to do that for them to be successful and reinforce the joy of learning. This is so important because remember that you parents, you are modeling this for them. So you have to reinforce the joy of learning, encourage curiosity, exploration, and learning for fun and not just for rewards. Just get it done for fun. You see how we do it as parents? This is a conversation you can have with them. We go to the museum sometimes with you all. This is not for grade. This is for our own personal learning. So we can learn and we can establish a conversation with any and everybody because We have a bank of knowledge in our brain because we set up ourselves continuously learning. And we want you as our children to also to do that. And so this is the exercise I'm going to challenge you to do with your child. This is a parent-child learning time. You're going to collaborate with your child to do a new skill that you never did before. Example, it could be cooking, it could be baking, it could be painting together. But while you're doing this, parents, discuss the learning process. Engage with your child to actually go through the learning process as to how to get that particular assignment done. And I would like to leave this text with you this on this session, Philippians 4:13, and it reads, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And this is a positive mantra. This is a positive text that you can encourage your children as they're going to school, as they're learning. Let them learn this text that they can do all things through Christ who strengthens them. All right? And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching because we are championing parents for legacy success. Thank you.